Local 4 News starts now with a forewarned weather alert.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. A forewarned weather alert to kick things off on multiple fronts as we take a live look from our Windsor sky cam. First, there's snow, but the big thing is what's coming for the rest of the week.
A winter weather advisory is in effect all night and into the morning because dangerously cold temperatures are on the way. We're talking about wind chills well below zero.
Let's get right over to forewarned meteorologist Kim Adams with the details on that. Kim, we're not done with the snow just yet.
No, not quite yet. We still have a few scattered snow showers out there now, and that winter weather advisory is for just multiple different issues that we have, including blowing snow, lake effect snow, and also those dangerously cold temperatures and wind chills. Let's start right now with Exact Track 40 radar, and I'll zoom in on a couple of little areas of snow right now that we're watching. Again, coming off of Lake Michigan, withering as they get here, but still packing a punch in a couple of areas. Moderate snow along I-96 there as you head over into Novi. Here's 12 Oaks Mall right here getting a few flurries down 275 into Plymouth. But for the most part, it's nothing that would really affect the roads aside from some blowing snow across the roadways. Still slippery, untreated pavement, things like that. But what we're really watching overnight tonight, I'm going to start with the wind gusts. Current wind gusts have been anywhere between 25 to as much as 36 miles per hour right now out at Metro Airport, which means it doesn't matter if the temperatures are in the teens. It feels like it's below zero in many areas across Metro Detroit, even colder for the morning tomorrow. And now we're looking at dangerous cold for the weekend. We'll talk about that coming up.
With the dangerous cold coming, there's one big question a lot of people have. Will kids have school tomorrow?
Yeah, and it's not an easy answer. It turns out the answer is a little bit complicated. Lauren Kostick joining us live tonight with the dilemma for school districts. Lauren, you spoke to superintendents today with some tough decisions to make.
It is a tough decision. I do not envy their job. They're going to be busy all week making those tough calls because, like you said, this is not just a 1 or 2 day thing. This is an all week. We're going to be dealing with these brutal wind chills. And if the flags here at Campus Martius is any indication, these winds are just not letting up. As parents make contingency plans, school districts are working on their game plan.
Being -10, -15, -20, that definitely warrants a discussion amongst the superintendents.
Freezing temperatures and below zero wind chills threatening school closures all week across the metro. So how do districts make the call?
Whether it's a snow day or a cold day, the primary factor that my colleagues and I have in making these calls is always student safety.
In Oakland County, superintendents have a process, usually joining a conference call the day before to review the forecast. After that, it's up to each district to make the final decision.
To make sure that we're looking at geographically what's best for each and every district, because there is a variance across Southeast Michigan.
And there are a lot of factors they consider. First, of course, the weather. When the wind chill drops below zero, especially into the double digits, that's a major red flag. Also, road conditions and how many students walk to school.
All of us as superintendents really don't enjoy calling snow days or cold weather days because we know we provide a service for so many kids and families that is essential, well beyond education.
Michigan schools get 6 weather days, but can request up to 3 more. If they exceed that, districts will then extend the school year to make up for the lost time. And we know a lot of those calls among the superintendents are happening right now, reviewing the forecast, trying to come up with the game plan because they want to keep parents informed and get them informed as soon as possible so they also can plan ahead. And you can monitor all the school closings this evening at clickondetroit.com. Reporting in Detroit, Lauren Kostick, Local 4.
Yeah, me and all the parents are going to be paying close attention to that, Lauren. Thanks for covering that story. All right, let's get to this now. Because of the weather, this was a bad one. The weather is being blamed for a massive pileup on the west side of the state.
It happened on I-96, I-196 near Zeeland. That's west of Grand Rapids. Officials say about 100 vehicles crashed in whiteout conditions just before 10:30 this morning. The Ottawa County Sheriff says several people were hurt, but so far no fatalities have been reported. The highway closed in both directions, and it may stay that way for hours. Stranded drivers are being bused to a nearby high school to stay warm and get help.
All right, now we go to live pictures of the White House tonight. Tensions are rising again over President Trump's push to make Greenland part of the United States, claiming we need the territory for national security. The Prime Minister of Norway says the president texted her saying he no longer feels an obligation to think purely or peace after not winning the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, President Trump is threatening tariffs on 8 European allies until a deal with Denmark is reached. Here's NBC's Garrett Hake.
With tensions heating up over the Arctic island of Greenland, President Trump ratcheting up his rhetoric and economic pressure to own the Danish territory, declining to answer when asked by NBC News today if he would use force to take it over, and threatening a 10% tariff on 8 European countries that oppose his fight for the island, that he says is vital for U.S. security. But today, the Norwegian Prime Minister giving another insight in the territorial tussle, releasing a text he says he received from the president that states, quote, "Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace." Administration officials pushing back.
We are not going to outsource our hemispheric security to anyone else.
European leaders now looking at options to counter Trump's new import tax, including their own tariffs and a so-called trade bazooka, never before used, that allows EU nations to retaliate, though some leaders taking a more measured tone.
I think that this can be resolved and should be resolved through calm discussion.
The EU is America's largest trading bloc.
I think you will expect to see a number of senators join in an anti-tariff resolution filed right when we get back.
The escalation in tensions is really troubling, and we are on the verge of a crippling trade war with Europe.
Trump has made no secret he wants to own Greenland.
We need Greenland for national security very badly.
To counter what he calls a growing threat from Russia and China. But in a statement, the Chinese government says the U.S. should stop using a China threat for selfish gains. President Trump will head to the Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland this week, where Treasury Secretary Bessent says the president will tell officials that this is what American leadership in the world looks like. Garrett Hake, NBC News, the White House.
Tensions in Minneapolis are high tonight after the Pentagon placed 1,500 active duty troops on standby. They're ready to deploy if President Trump invokes the Insurrection Act. This comes after a weekend of clashes over immigration raids and growing backlash from protesters. The Justice Department is now investigating both the church protests and whether Minnesota's governor and Minneapolis mayor are blocking immigration enforcement. The death toll is rising tonight after a deadly high-speed train crash in Spain.
This was so tragic. Officials say at least 39 people have died when the tail end of a high-speed train jumped its tracks and was hit by another train coming the other way. It happened around 7:45 last night. At least 75 others were hurt in this crash. Emergency crews worked to remove the victims from the crash site and evacuate the other passengers, but no word yet on what caused it.
Today, community leaders gathered to honor the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. The 23rd annual MLK Day rally and community fellowship at St. Matthew's St. Joseph's Episcopal Church on Woodward. People gathered to hear from guest speakers, video messages, music, and a community meal. Organizers say this year's theme, 6 Decades of Mass Movements, highlights the ongoing fight for civil rights and social justice here and around the world.